Did I mention that I love sea stacks? I think I did. I think I've mentioned it a few times. Well, tonight we are at one of Canada's most epic sea stack locations. I think this has got to be the best sea stack location in all of Canada. Oh, look at this guy. God, look at the camo. You can spot a birder a mile off. Look at the guy.
Hey!
I bet he's got an 800mm lens in his camera bag and some binoculars.
Gavin Hardcastle. Oh man, it's nice to meet you. I love your channel, Fototripper. It's absolutely amazing. You used to do some great stuff on there.
Used to?
What do you mean used to?
Oh, it's full of photo tips and photography, landscape photography tips. It was fantastic. You know, now it's mostly fart jokes.
Well, I've done one in all year. You know, it's like 2 a year or something. You look a bit familiar. Are you on the YouTubes? Let's just show you this guy. Anybody recognize this fella? I've seen you before.
Yeah, I just started a YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah?
Nom d'entrement.
Oh.
I do mostly wildlife and a little bit of astrophotography.
That sounds French.
It is. Native Nova Scotian.
So you're going to give me some bird shooting tips?
Sure, if you love birds. I mean, everyone loves birds.
I love birds.
It's harder than landscape photography.
I
A
don't.
bit more professional maybe, but you know, because anyone can do landscape photography. But you know, it takes more skill. But if you want to join the club, happy to have you.
Well, she has been reading her bird book. She's probably impressed you with some of her names that she's memorized.
If you want to be look like a real birder, by the way, you don't call them seagulls. Real birders only call them gulls.
Gulls.
Seagulls. So if you want to look pro,
Gulls.
just call them gulls, not seagulls.
I think we know what kind of episode this is going to be, don't we? Should we get down to the sea stacks then?
Let's do that.
So I noticed your very first YouTube video got more views than any of mine. I've been doing it for 5 years.
I guess I got lucky, I guess. Good thumbnail. Do a good thumbnail and everything else comes.
Oh, you're giving me tips now, are you? Right. That's how it goes, is it? Done 4 videos and now I'm getting
Fewer
schooled.
fat jokes, maybe. You might get a bigger.
Hey man, I am what I am. I can't do less. You know, a man's got like, you know, bodily functions. You might as well catalogue it.
So you're an archivist now, you know, doing it professionally.
Oh, I've dropped some archives, I'll tell you that.
The problem with these birders is they really know their stuff, but I refused to be upstaged.
Simon, let me just give you some tips on some birds here. This is the peregrine falcon. This, yeah. Have you seen one of these?
Yes, I've gotten some photographs.
Have you? Good ones?
Not too bad. They're hard to track at 200 kilometers an hour, but you know, that's the skill you need as a wildlife photographer.
It's peregrine falcon. That one.
I could tell that Simon was blown away by my knowledge of birds, but this location was all about my domain, landscape photography. Now, a place as spectacular as Hopewell Rocks is always going to be covered in humans, so I knew I'd have to be patient.
So walking through these amazing sea stacks kind of reminds me of the Oregon coast or even the Washington coast, but with the major difference of all of this rock is orange, or it's kind of like a sort of like a clay colour. All of the sand, or half sand, half mud, I think it is. I reckon this is my favourite one so far. It's almost completely undermined by that tide coming and going. I think it's a 50-foot tide and it just goes out for miles. It's truly spectacular and amazing, but what a subject. Now, the problem that I've got, aside from the light, is that this kind of sandy mud is just completely covered in footprints, which kind of looks quite hideous. But I'm hoping that when we come back first thing in the morning, once the tides come in and then sucked all of that mess away and left just pristine sand / mud, then I think I should be able to get some absolutely gorgeous compositions. But I'll keep looking. Maybe I'll find something that'll work for tonight. I'm kind of hopeful. I don't know if that shows up on the the camera, but these clouds are quite promising. I reckon we might get a nice sunset tonight, so I better figure out where I need to be.
But I couldn't concentrate because everywhere I went, Simon was blinding me with knowledge.
So some stats about this location we're at.
Yeah, didn't ask, but yeah, carry on.
The tides here are 17 meters at their highest, which is like 56 feet, so 5-story building.
Yeah.
And every 6 hours, half of a tide, 200 billion tons of water come in and out of the Bay of Fundy. And what caused it to be the highest tides in the world, which is the very location we're at, is that the moon and the sun, the gravity of them, is trying to pull all the water north, but the Bay of Fundy is capped at the top. There's no way for the water to go out, so the only place it can go is up.
He's got all the tips.
I was getting really sick of being upstaged by Simon, but Amanda was just lapping up the bird info.
This guy's unbelievable. He's walking along teaching Amanda all about birds and like doing bird calls and trying to lure them out like some kind of weirdo. Bit of a show off, to be quite honest with you. You won't catch me showing off like that.
And this was the best year for snowy owls we've had since I've been doing photography in the last 7 years.
So one thing that I noticed, Simon, is that unlike the Pacific Northwest, so all of this, what was seaweed, I guess it is, everything that's underneath the overhang on these rocks, if we were on Vancouver Island right now, you'd have all kinds of creatures clinging on and they'd be sagging and there'd be colour and they'd be alive. And I don't see that here. Why?
Shallow pools we do. If you go in the shallow pools, you'll find crabs, you'll find snails, but not the hanging down stuff.
Have you had deep fried seaweed? It's actually quite good.
Never had it.
It's quite delish.
That was a mistake. As soon as I mentioned it, Amanda simply had to try some seaweed.
Are you going to eat that?
I kind of want to bite it to see if it pops in my mouth or something.
Eat it.
It's interesting.
Yet another spectacular sea stack. I'm totally spoiled. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Look at this business. Look at that. Growing out the top of my head. I mean, that's as cool as it gets for me. I just love that kind of stuff. So weirdly shaped. That would be perfect if not for these, let's show these footprints. There's all these footprints in this muddy sand. But if I could get this in the morning, all just fresh, with no footprints, oh my God.
Now, I did have one trick up my sleeve that I knew would impress both Amanda and Simon.
Can you give us a few bird calls now, Simon?
Oh my goodness, it'll be embarrassing. Well, a barred owl, if you ever see a barred owl, and you can, to learn birding calls, you learn what called are the mnemonics, which are the play on words done to remind you of a phrase. So a barred owl, it's who cooks for you, who cooks for you all. So the call is hoo 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 hoo,
Oh yeah.
which is who cooks for you, who cooks for you all.
And what's the answer to that?
There is no answer.
What's the point of this
It's a rhetorical question.
Bloody birders.
Oh, I like it. I think it sounds good.
There you go.
Have you got one that's kind of like a bit scary and shrieky?
No, not really. I got the cute ones, right?
Yeah, he doesn't like
a chickadee
birds.
goes chickadee dee 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 dee. So the mnemonic is chickadee dee
I
dee
know
dee
that
dee.
one.
Yeah.
Or eastern wood peewee would be peewee.
Right, let me do a loon. Is this any good? Woo!
That's pretty good right there.
Woo! I can do an eagle.
Can you?
You ready?
Yeah. That's pretty good. Actually. That's a pretty good bald eagle right there.
Well, it's bloody typical. I've found my composition. I absolutely love this composition, and all the clouds have buggered off. We've got nothing but blue skies. Typical. That's just brilliant, isn't it? But at least I've found my comp for tomorrow morning. Now, this is about as easy as it gets in terms of compositions. I'm not even going to bother showing you back of the camera because, well, this is it. I'm standing in it. And all I've done really is that I've picked a pleasing angle of this main sea stack. And then what I wanted to do is find something to kind of frame it, just to fill this empty space. Now, I probably wouldn't have done that had there been tons of clouds and colour and texture, but there's nothing. There's just empty blue sky. So I want to kind of fill that space. So I just backed into a corner with a couple of rocks either side, and they just created a really pleasing frame. So that is the shot.
No promises, but I might just capture a spectacular version of that later.
Well, now I'm bloody cloud chasing. I've come out of my hobbit hole and I'm trying to position myself so that this has at least some clouds behind it. They've all moved over there. Do you mind? I'm just trying to...
Oh, sorry, aren't you that Thomas fellow that does the sky replacements in Lightroom?
Will you? The clouds are just rubbish here. I'm going to go back round that corner to that other sea stack, because if you look over there, that's where all the clouds are. So you've got to follow the clouds and put yourself where the colour is. So it's... You're still here?
I'm only joking. I know who you are.
Yeah?
Yeah, Adam Gibbs, right?
So a couple of weeks ago I bought this new Sigma 14 to 24 lens, and I haven't really used it that much, but I tell you what, I'm glad that I bought it, because it is barely wide enough to fit in this behemoth of a sea stack. Let me show you this business.
As you can see, even a 14mm lens on a full-frame camera can barely fit this giant monster into the frame.
Absolutely bloody massive. So I've come round to this side of the beach now in the hopes of getting some clouds, and there is a little bit more. Let me just turn this around and show you. So you can just see, well, you probably can't on this camera because the exposure is a travesty, but you can just see these bits of cloud here. But the problem is the sea stack is so tall, it just goes right up into the stratosphere, and ain't no clouds up there. I think it'll be a fairly weak shot with this kind of light. Jason I actually have been chatting with Jason. He's not a troll or anything like that. And I told him that I was coming here, and he neglected to mention that this is actually exclusively a sunrise location. Even though I told him I was coming for sunset twice. This is the 2 occasions now. So
He's lying.
that's a big fail, I think. It's a big fail. But you know, you live and learn, don't you? And it's not a total waste of time or gas. I mean, I did spend like $300 in fuel just to get here, Jason, and it was all a waste of time so far. But anyway, you know, it's not a total waste of time. Maybe I'll get something nice in the morning. And this is a bit of a fact-finding mission, isn't it, Jason?
I'm learning a lot.
Did you bring snacks?
Of course.
Oh, he's a good one. One thing I will say for New Brunswick, I mean, people are a bit weird, but the bugs are nowhere near as bad as Nova Scotia. Like, is that normal?
Down here it's pretty normal. Yeah, I mean, you got the wind, but...
It's just because we're down on the beach, eh?
Water.
Yeah.
Oh, so...
Well, I mean, that was pretty bad in your last video.
I just can't deal with it. Part of me enjoys whinging and complaining about the bugs. I actually enjoy doing that, but I don't enjoy the bites that last for a week. Oh, get off, you bastard! Yeah. Oh, it's dead.
Got it. I'll eat
Look at it. Yeah, you gonna eat it? You don't know the half of it.
We gave up on sunset and went for a break in the camper, just to kill a couple of hours before heading back out for some Milky Way photography.
We're hardcore, and we're basically, after a short break, we're going back down to the beach to try and get a Milky Way shot of the Milky Way, the galactic core, over the stacks, because Simon has a redemption mission. You went here 4 years ago.
That's right.
And I guess that was like pre-excellence days.
It was, yeah. I was, I had the training wheels on there. I was doing the best I could, but
Stabilizers on.
that's right.
So this is his redemption mission, and of course I've never been here before, so I'm quite excited. So it's all down to the tide. We know that the Milky Way is out, skies are completely clear, but we don't know what the tide's going to be doing when we get down there. But Jason's brought these water wings that he's agreed to put on and swim out into the water with a headlamp on his head.
We could light paint the sea stacks a bit.
Yeah, just
would be great.
From the water, but we can only do that if someone gets in the water and gets behind the stacks. So I'm willing to supervise. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
I'll join you in that sacrifice.
So we're almost at the viewing platform, and we might have a bit of a problem, and that is this bloody bright street lamp up here. So Simon's done this before. This is old news to you, isn't it? You've done this. You've had a problem with that bugger.
Yeah. There's one of the biggest sea stacks that tops the trees at the top, and the top of the rocks have a nice little stripe across them. I met a guy with a bucket and a long pole, so I think I knew what and a camera. So I think I knew what he was doing.
So if you are that guy and you are watching this video and that was you, you're basically a legend.
Bravo.
Yeah, bro, I want to shake your hand because that is dedication.
It was the bucket was painted blue, I'm pretty sure.
So if you did do that, get in touch because we all want to see that picture.
As we returned to the sea stack during high tide in the dead of night, we began to realize these conditions were almost perfect for astrophotography. But would we get killer shots?
So I'm actually quite happy with this shot that I'm getting with this 14mm lens, but as predicted, that light pollution from that street lamp up on the hill is kind of buggering the thing up, making it look a bit unnatural. Let me show you the back of the camera. I mean, obviously this is on playback, this is not live view, but I'll just show you this. So what you're looking at there's the Milky Way just behind the sea stack, but right on the top of the sea stack you should be able to see that fairly ugly light. I mean, it's not terrible, it could be worse, but I'd really rather it wasn't there. I was tempted to do like a 4 or 5 minute long exposure just to get more light in this area here and then just kind of blend those together, but then that bright hot spot would just be over the top. So now as I'm shooting this, the tide is creeping in, and just behind me, I would say about 80 feet behind me, is the staircase. That's our exit. So you've really got to watch what you're doing with this tide here. So with every single exposure, the water is creeping closer and closer. So I don't have long to try and get this shot, but let me just show you the finished version of this shot right here.
Well, it wasn't bad for a test shot, but I knew I could do better with a more interesting composition and perhaps a little bit of creative light painting.
I reckon we got maybe 30 to 40 minutes and then the tide's just going to chase us out of this beach. But we're all shooting like lunatics to get as many shots as we can before the moment's over, because you can guarantee there's somebody somewhere who's just planning exactly the conditions that we have kind of stumbled upon tonight to get the tide and to get this clear sky with no moon. I don't think this happens all that often. If you're a total nerd and you look this up and it actually does happen like 3 times a month, then don't post a comment.
As soon as I began to experiment with some light painting, the shot revealed itself.
I'm not going to lie, I'm having full-blown photogasms right now. These conditions are absolutely spectacular. Basically, we have to change our composition every few minutes because the tide just pushes you out. And we're almost out. I think we've got maybe 15 feet and that's it. We're going up the stairs. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of doing long exposures on a 10-second timer, and then I'm running like a lunatic around these sea stacks to do some light painting, just to give it a bit more depth, a bit more contrast in the edges of the frame. So I'm quite happy with what I'm getting. So let me just show you the first shot that I got, and then I'll try a different composition. So this is that first light painted shot right here.
If you'd like to learn some of my Milky Way processing techniques, check out my course Milky Way Made Easy, which is on sale right now. There's a link in the description.
So we have about 6 feet of beach left, and I can't really do any more light painting because my access to that part of the beach is now underwater. I mean, I guess I could just slosh through it and be a man, but it's midnight, I'm not feeling too much like doing that. So we're going to now retreat up the stairs like a bunch of wimps, but I'm quite happy with the shots that I've got so far. I mean, look at that, that's where we're at with the tide right now, so it's time to leave. be tasty retreat. But there's still a viewing platform up there, so we're going to try and sneak up there real gently because Simon's doing a time lapse. I don't want to mess up his time lapse, so we're going to creep up there like Uncle Grumpy trying to get a sausage roll. Did you guys enjoy that Milky Way session?
That was awesome.
That was fantastic.
It's, you know, it's not free though. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, what are you laughing at?
You're going to charge us for that, are you?
Well, I mean, I've got to pay for my fuel. You know,
You did do a heroic job running with the light in the dark, doing some light painting on the walls. You did a fantastic job.
I mean, that does not come cheap. That's years of training, you know, in some distant monastery in the Swiss Alps.
So we pay Amanda, right?
Yeah, you do actually. What time is it now?
It's 12:30. We're going to be back here in 4.5 hours, and I have to drive 20 minutes to the B&B and 20 minutes back. So I'll get a real impressive 3 hours and change nap.
What kind of breakfast are they going to do for you?
Actually, they have a chef that they bring in for dinner and for breakfast. So I'm going to have a gourmet breakfast.
Is this big? Did you tell them who you are? Is that why they're giving you this service?
No, I think they give it to any schmuck
Oh, really?
that shows up and pays the fee.
Right.
You didn't say you were Gavin Hardcastle.
They know my name though, so you'll.
Oh, right.
And I know I'm some French guy.
All right. Well, I'm going to get back in the camper. I'll have probably 14 minutes of sleep, and then we'll be back out here for sunrise.
See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
Well, see you next week, actually, when you tune into part 2 of this adventure where I nail that sunrise shot. Like and subscribe.